Hello my friends, in today's video we will take a look at Viltrox AF 27mm F1.2 Pro E for Sony E-mount. I have already tested the X-mount version, so at this point it is not a secret that this is one of the best APS-C lenses that I've ever reviewed. The version for Sony E-mount is now available as well, and it is very welcome since the APS-C E-mount is making a comeback of sorts. In this video, we will take a look at how it works with a 26MP sensor in Sony A6700, at the autofocus, and other features specific to the E-mount version, and also at the general performance of this lens. 27mm on APS-C translates to 41mm full-frame equivalent, which is in my opinion a very useful focal length. In comparison to 35mm, it puts a little bit more emphasis on the subject. I would say that it is significantly more versatile than a 50mm focal length. It is probably the longest focal length that I would still consider for all-round use. It can be used for landscapes and cities, but also for portraits and even product photography. A unique characteristic of this lens is that it combines that 27mm focal length and f1.2 aperture. That further increases the versatility by adding an option to separate the subject and let in a lot of light. This is actually the first lens of this type for the E-mount. It is 9.2 cm long and it weighs 565 grams in the E-mount version. It is not particularly light, but considering the f1.2 aperture and the optical performance, I will say that the weight is justified. The A6700 is a very small camera, so the combination is a bit front heavy, but it has a good grip, so it is not that bad in terms of handling. The build quality is great, much like with other recent Viltrox lenses. The outer construction is completely metal, including the focusing ring. It is very precisely made, it feels very solid, and I can definitely say premium. It certainly punches above the price point in this regard. The mount is metal as well, of course. As you can see, there is also a USB-C port for firmware updates, which is very convenient. This lens is weather sealed. The E-mount version has a distinctive orange rubber gasket around the mount. It has a 67mm filter thread, which is one of the most popular diameters, so getting filters for this lens definitely won't be an issue. A lens hood is included in the box. It is a standard plastic lens hood, it is sufficiently long and it gets the job done, so I have nothing to complain about. Regarding the control elements, there is the focusing ring and aperture ring. The focusing ring is sufficiently large. It uses focus-by-wire system, so it is completely smooth. The resistance is relatively low on this copy, but it is very precise, so I don't mind that. The manual focusing is great with this lens, so no complaints here. The aperture ring has clicks at 1/3 of a stop increments. The clicks are a lot less tactile than on 75mm version, but the ring stays in position with no issues and it makes the operation a bit quieter. If you prefer changing aperture in camera, you can simply switch it to A position and use the command dial. Declicking switch is also available and it will allow you to get smooth aperture changes. Besides that, there is also an AF/MF switch, which is quite useful because it is not available on Sony APS-C cameras. So how about the image quality? This time I have tested this lens with a 26MP sensor in Sony A6700. It is a lot less demanding than the 40MP sensor that I have already tested this lens with, so you might already know the result. The central sharpness is once again excellent right from f1.2. This is as much detail as a 26MP sensor can capture on this scene. I don't see any chromatic aberration. The contrast improves very slightly between f1.2 and f2, but that is a hair-splitting difference. The image quality then stays the same until f5.6. There actually seems to be a tiny bit of diffraction as soon as f8, so use f5.6 as the sharpest point. There is a lot of diffraction at f11, which I recommend avoiding if possible. The corner sharpness is also excellent right from f1.2. Much like in the center, the contrast is maybe a little bit better at f2, but the difference is negligible. The corner sharpness stays the same until f5.6. You will get an excellent image quality in that range. The diffraction is again slightly visible at f8 and a lot more visible at f11. Unsurprisingly, 26 megapixel sensor is a piece of cake for this lens. Together with the 75mm version and the latest Fuji primes, it is among the top 5 crop lenses that I've ever tested. Besides great testing scene results, it also takes beautiful real-world pictures and video. The micro contrast is excellent and it has quite a lot of character. Overall, it is as good as it gets, so not much to say there. The profile corrections are applied in camera. There is quite a bit of vignetting at f1.2. It gradually decreases until f2.8 even after profile corrections. You might want to correct that manually for landscapes images, for example. The minimum focus distance is 28 cm, which translates to 0.15 times magnification. That is below average but still usable for something like flowers or some types of product photography. The image quality at the minimum focus distance is really good though. The bokeh, on the other hand, is exceptional. You can get a lot of subject separation at f1.2 at this focal length. The rendition of the autofocus background is beautiful. The transitions between areas in focus and out of focus are super smooth and it can handle outlines in the background very well. It has 11 aperture blades, which is probably the main reason for that. Overall, the bokeh is another strength shared with the 75mm version. The autofocus is as good as with first-party Sony lenses. It is very fast, very accurate, and there is no hunting. Low light and backlit situations are not an issue either. In combination with the A6700, it is pretty much perfect. The lens definitely won't limit the autofocus in any way. That applies to video as well. The transitions are again as smooth as with first-party lenses. The autofocus motor is almost completely silent. You can just about hear it when you are close to the lens, but it shouldn't be picked up by in-camera microphone or by shotgun microphone. This lens exhibits quite a lot of focus breathing. That means that it zooms a lot when you are focusing. It won't be a big deal for most users, but if you are doing a lot of focus pulling in video, definitely keep it in mind. 27mm Viltrox is not stabilized. Sony A6700 has a very solid in-body image stabilization, which is a bit underrated and more than sufficient at this focal length. As usually, static shots are very stable and the movement is very smooth when panning. To sum up, Viltrox AF 27mm F1.2 Pro E is an outstanding lens that, somewhat unsurprisingly, performs extremely well together with the A6700. Much like the other two top-grade Viltrox APS-C lenses, the 13mm F1.4 and 75mm F1.2, it is a new type of lens that wasn't available in the system before. The optical qualities are as good as it gets. 26 megapixels is a piece of cake for this lens. 27mm focal length is in my opinion very interesting and f1.2 aperture offers a lot of subject separation. The bokeh is outstanding and so is the build quality. I've been getting very nice pictures out of this lens in combination with the A6700. Two downsides of this lens are the focus breathing and the minimum focus distance, which is below average. Some people don't like the weight of this lens, which is understandable, but here I have to say that the weight is justified by the performance of this lens. Like I said in my review of the X-mount version, 27mm f1.2 is a very good idea and the execution is excellent, which means that I can highly recommend it. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching, I hope that you liked this video and that you have found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section and see you next time.